Early in the morning.
What's going on, the people? It's your boy Cam, Topical Juice, and we are back with a Diddy update video. This ain't just any Diddy update, guys. You are gonna want to stay for the entirety of this video. This is one of the most harrowing allegations and sickening stories I have ever heard. It sounds like a horror movie, guys. This 62-page lawsuit that has come out over the last 48 hours details the entire criminal enterprise, essentially, that Diddy is a head of. Diddy is like Jeff. I can't even say Epstein's name on YouTube because they demonetize it, but we're gonna call him Jeff. Diddy is like Jeff, and the lawsuit exposes the people that are enabling and working with Diddy, including but not limited to Christina Coram. Now, Christina Coram is basically the handler for Diddy, who runs Diddy. She's like the gatekeeper for Diddy. You probably never heard of her. She's extremely powerful, extremely influential, and she's clearly extremely dangerous, and she works closely with Diddy. She's like the Maxwell to his Jeff. This is a crazy story. I'm not even going to do the whole intro stuff. If you like it, that's great. Please subscribe, Patreon, all of that in the description. But let's get into this. Firstly, extreme trigger warning. I'm about to say some things. A lot of it's going to get blurred out and muted, unfortunately, but I'm about to say some things that are truly horrific. Not only that, this video is going to be heavily me reading, because I want to read this lawsuit and read the key bits for you. I need you to see this, guys. This is insane. Whether you believe it or not, I believe it, but whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. This is just one of the hundreds of stories that have come out about Diddy, and it just goes to show how much of a pure monster he actually is. So despite all that, guys, kind of sit back, relax. As I said, trigger warning, we're gonna be reading a lot. It says parties. Now, this is the official lawsuit. It says parties. This is the parties that it involves. So the plaintiff is someone called Ashley Parham. She's the person who is filing this lawsuit. You've then got the defendant, Diddy. You've then got defendant Christina Coram, who's going to be referenced as KK in the lawsuit. You've then got someone called Shane Pierce. And then we've got John Doe 1, 2, and 3. And then we also have a Jane Doe. Factual allegations common to all counts. Plaintiff met defendant Shane in Feb 2018 after an altercation with another man at a bar, and defendant Shane came to plaintiff's rescue. While outside the bar with friends and other patrons, defendant Shane FaceTime video calls Diddy and was showing people Diddy in the video on his phone, attempting to impress the people with his famous friend. Defendant Shane then showed plaintiff defendant Diddy on his video call, which the lady ignored, stating that she was not impressed by Diddy or him knowing Diddy, because she believes that Diddy had something to do with the murder of Tupac. And this is back in 2018. Visible in the FaceTime call was Diddy and some of his children, including Christian and Quincy. It appeared from the plaintiff's perspective that Diddy was having a get-together at his home. Defendant Diddy heard plaintiff's statements and made a remark that plaintiff would, quote, pay for her statement regarding Tupac and overall dismissal of Diddy. On March 23rd, 2018, the defendant Shane invited plaintiff over to his home to assist him with his cancer medications because he stated he was weak and unable to open his medication. Upon Ashley's arrival, defendant Shane informed Ashley that he wanted to give her a ride in his new car. Ashley and Shane left his residence for a brief period, then returned. Once they returned, Shane left the door to his apartment partially open and stated that the door was ajar because there was an issue with the door where it couldn't close properly. Shane was renting an apartment on the lower floor of a home in Orinda, California. Ashley and Shane then began to watch a movie, and Shane offered her a glass of water, which he then retrieved and brought back to Ashley. Approximately 10 minutes after Ashley and Shane returned from their drive, Diddy entered Shane's residence. Diddy entered the home in a grand, quote, ready-to-party manner. His grandiose entrance was so loud that the dogs upstairs began barking. Diddy did not enter the home through the backyard entrance, but instead through the main entrance. Alongside Diddy was his bodyguard, defendant Doe 1, a woman who Ashley later identified as defendant KK, also known as Coram, another woman, small skinny build, early 30s with blonde mid-length hair, who Ashley has still been unable to identify, Jane Doe, defendant Doe 2, who upon information and belief is a friend of the defendant Shane and Diddy, and defendant Diddy's driver, Doe 3, who remained outside and in his vehicle during the duration of the assault. Ashley believes Shane invited her to set her up to be by defendant Diddy because of the statement she made about Diddy a month prior. Upon Diddy's arrival, he immediately began to antagonize Ashley. stating that she thought she would never see him in person and she would pay for her comments about Tupac during the video call that Diddy called. Ashley was in shock, as she never believed she would ever see or meet Diddy in real life, let alone in the small apartment rented by Shane. Diddy then began advancing towards where Ashley was sitting on Shane's bed with a knife and held it to the right side of Ashley's face and threatened to give her a Glasgow smile in retaliation for her statements. Christina Coram, aka defendant KK, told Diddy that she did not think giving Ashley a Glasgow smile would be advantageous to their potential clients who they could sell Ashley for sex to. Defendant KK then made a threat to Ashley that they could ship her off anywhere in the world and that she would never see her family or anyone she knew ever again. Defendant Shane then partially undressed Ashley. Then defendant Diddy removed the remainder of Ashley's clothing, removing the knife from her face and then retrieving a bottle of liquid from a large fanny pack. Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid on Ashley, which she feared was a chemical substance like acid, but she quickly realised that the substance was an oil/lubricant. Ashley was squirted with this liquid substance over the entirety of her naked body. Now guys, I'm going to stop here temporarily. This is madness. Look at who we're talking about here. Christina Coram. Christina Coram was labelled as Diddy's Maxwell by Lil Rod in his lawsuit back in May 2024. So she was being referenced in lawsuits from months ago as being the Maxwell for Diddy. Now I read the entire 62-page document and we're going to continue shortly. And the question I kept asking myself was, who is Shane? Who is this Shane Pierce? Who is this gentleman that meets people at bars and also FaceTimes Diddy in an attempt to impress these strangers? Who would do that? Shane Pierce, I googled the name, it's not well known, it's not a publicist, it's not an editor, it's no one. I believe Shane is on the payroll. Shane is a person that actually lures these women into these circumstances. I reckon he's out there literally almost recruiting women for Diddy, or if not, setting them up. And you'll see why I think that later. But guys, extreme trigger warning, I'm about to say some absolutely horrific things that this woman Ashley went through. Defendant KK was then told by Diddy to insert what looks like a syringe from sterile packaging into Ashley's downstairs. Defendant KK did as told and then told Diddy that she was unable to use the IUD because it had prematurely been released from its packaging. If you don't know what IUD is, that is a contraception. So they were going to force contraception into this lady. Diddy, upset by this, took the syringe from KK and tried to insert it into Ashley's downstairs instead. Defendant KK and Diddy began to argue as defendant KK continued to advise Diddy that since the IUD had been prematurely released from its packaging, it was no way they could insert it into Ashley effectively. After some time, defendant Diddy heeded the advice of defendant KK and removed the syringe and handed it to the defendant, KK. Defendant KK and Jane Doe exited the residence, leaving Ashley alone with Diddy, Shane, and John Doe's 1 and 2. Diddy then picked up a television remote that was near Ashley and violently inserted it into Ashley's downstairs. Diddy, while violently essaying Ashley with a remote, told Ashley that her life was in his hands and that he, if he wanted to, could take her and she would never be seen again. Ashley began hysterically crying from the threats by Diddy, along with the pain of being violently essayed by Diddy with the remote, as well as the lingering pain from the ordeal with the IUD syringe insertion. Diddy then instructed Shane to turn Ashley on her stomach, seemingly tired of hearing her blood-curdling cries. Shane then grabbed Ashley by her abdomen and hips and turned her over on her stomach. Diddy then instructed Shane to put a pillow over her head because he didn't want to see her face or hear her cries, and instructed Shane to, I can't even say that on YouTube, instructed Shane to grape her behind. Shane did as he was told by defendant Diddy and began to do that. Diddy then violently did the same thing after Shane. John Doe, 2, Shane and Diddy all took turns violently graping her behind. Immediately after John Doe did what he did, he exited Shane's residence. Diddy then instructed John Doe to also grape her. Instead of immediately graping Ashley, defendant John Doe doused Ashley with more oil and then jumped on top of Ashley's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of Ashley due to his enormous size. John Doe then caught himself sliding over Ashley's oiled body and off the bed and then began essaying her. While John Doe was essaying her, Diddy sat in a chair near a bed and began tossing himself off while recording Ashley's essay. Another party's phone fell on the bed near Ashley. Ashley then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil that had been doused all over the person's body. Diddy then began laughing at Ashley while she attempted to grab the phone. I'm going to stop here and continue shortly. What do we know about Diddy? What did Cassie say? The amount of times Cassie had to wear white nail polish, so while she was dealing with the male workers, he would masturbate while recording it. What do we know about the sex worker who shot up Trump's hotel? He also said Diddy records his activities and he tosses himself off while he watches it. So this is another encounter, another example of someone who has been violently essayed by him while he's videoing it and while he's playing with himself. The guy is a sicko, guys. I'm sorry, this is wild. Throughout the violent gang essay, Diddy made constant belittling remarks to Ashley, including that he owned her now. Her body was becoming more and more limp over the course of the encounter. Eventually, she had no control over her body and could not move. Defendant KK entered the room and she examined Ashley to see if she needed assistance and was about to give Ashley an IV fluid, which we know he's used to. Defendant KK then opened a different bag, different than the one Diddy had removed the oil from, where Ashley had observed several medical bottles, IV fluid bags and other unidentified powder-like drugs. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bottles and gave it to defendant Diddy. Diddy then inserted the pill into Ashley's mouth and down her throat to where Ashley had no choice but to ingest the pill. Diddy, Shane, KK and Doe 1 then exited the residence to the backyard where they smoked weed and cigarettes. Ashley remained in an almost lifeless state in Shane's bedroom until she finally regained her bodily functions. I'm gonna skip past this page, but pause it and read for yourself. She grabs a knife, she finds Johnny's on the floor. It's insane, but just pause it and read this page. So skipping forward, she goes outside and finds Diddy and KK and the Jane and John Doe's on the balcony / patio area, whatnot, right? She then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard where Diddy noticed her presence and remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her enough drugs to take out a horse. Ashley then asked Diddy what he gave her and he laughed and did not provide a response. Diddy then made further comments to Ashley in a jovial, friendly manner, asking her why they hadn't partied together before, because it was so much fun and he hadn't had any ass that tight in a while. Defendant Doe 1 then quipped at Diddy that he probably hadn't had any ass that tight because he's not used to having behind sex with women, which Diddy and Doe 1 laughed at. Ashley then told Diddy that she did not party with him and she did not enjoy partying with him and that he essayed her. Diddy did not like Ashley's response to his light-hearted commentary and offered her money and instructed her to not say it was grape, but it was consensual and that she was an sex worker. Ashley became enraged and yelled at Diddy that her grape was not consensual. She was not a worker and she refused to take any money from him and she would tell the feds what he did to her. Diddy then told Ashley that no one would ever believe her that she got graped by him, and if she did tell anyone, he would harm her family. Defendant Doe 1 then showed Ashley his phone, which looked as if it was outside Ashley's estranged sister's residence, as she could see her sister sitting on the couch and her sister's spouse on the balcony. It looked as if someone was outside the residence streaming this video to defendant Doe 1's phone. This is absolutely insane. We are talking about a violent gang SA here, pumping her with drugs. They're even making jokes about how he's never had booty that tight because he doesn't even go for women, he goes for men, and we know this. Who remembers the clip of Diddy and Fabulous saying, yo Fabulous, why don't you ever want to party with me, man? Why don't you ever want to party with me? We've partied before, we haven't partied. Do you know what I'm saying? What party do you mean? This is the party he means. He means doing drugs and slipping into some cheeks, bro. This is what he means. He is a booty bandit. There's no denying it. I'm sorry, it all makes sense now. We are getting an insight into his actual RICO kind of organization here. How defendant KK, Coram, his Maxwell will be enabling him, sobering the girls up or pumping them with this or that. Like what? You've got one of the defendants who is showing Ashley, her sister. Like, as in, they found out where her sister lives. And her life, this is a madness. As in, I knew they were bad. I knew they were villains. I knew they were like very powerful individuals, but I didn't know they were this powerful. I didn't know this is insane. And it gets even worse. Ashley, while rattled by what she was seeing on the phone, was still angry about the SA and was not complying with Diddy's request to take the money. Diddy then called his mother. We know his mother's a weirdo. He calls his mother in an effort to further convince Ashley not to report the SA. Diddy's mother yelled at Ashley to not hurt her son. Ashley told Diddy's mother that her son had violently SA'd her. Diddy's mother, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with Ashley to take the money being offered and not report to the law. Diddy then made further threats that he had gotten off from bigger crimes than this and referred to Tupac again, further antagonizing Ashley. Then this is where it turns mad. Defendant Doe 1 then turned to Diddy and pulled his gun on him, asking him to repeat what he said in reference to Tupac. As the two of them were exchanging words, Ashley went behind Defendant Doe 1, where he seemingly began to protect Ashley. Doe 1 then advanced to Diddy, questioning him over the comments he made about Tupac. During the commotion, a neighbor directly across the street came outside and peered into the backyard and asked what all the commotion was about. Defendant Doe 1 then pointed the strap at the neighbor and instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. Defendant Doe 1 then turned the gun back to Diddy. Ashley, not far behind Doe 1, tried to grab Doe 1's hand that had the gun. The gun then went off and hit a hill behind Shane's residence. Diddy then ran up the back stone stairs near the hill in the backyard toward where KK, Shane and Jane Doe were. Ashley charged towards Diddy, moving the concealed knife from her left hand to her right hand in pursuit of Diddy. This is insane. Ashley then pushed Diddy from behind while on the stone stairs outside, causing him to fall with his back to Ashley. Ashley then raised the knife in a rage from the events that just transpired and with the intent of driving the knife into Diddy's back when he turned around and began pleading for his life. Ashley, shocked now to see Diddy acting as a victim, had a moment of clarity and turned and ran down the outdoor stone staircase back out to the backyard to escape. Diddy then chased Ashley down the stairs and attempted to push her, but she was already at the bottom of the stairs and gained her footing and wielded the knife at Diddy, grazing his abdomen. Hearing the commotion, defendants KK and Jane Doe emerged and KK then began administering first aid to Diddy for his injuries. Ashley tried to make a quick dash for the exit but was thwarted by defendant Doe 1. After a period of time, Ashley was able to abscond from defendant Doe 1 due to the first aid commotion with Diddy and was able to run down the street. Once Ashley made it to the street, she began yelling loudly for people to call the police. Doe 1, who had now caught up with Ashley, advised plaintiff that he was an undercover cop. To this day, Ashley is unsure of the truth or falsity of that statement. Guys, I'm gonna stop there again. This is a fucking movie. We've got alleged undercover cops. We've got her swinging a knife and stabbing Diddy. We've got Diddy raping people. We've got his mum involved. We've got Christina Coram involved. And the thing is, the more we go through this, the more you can fact check this. There's multiple witnesses to this. She spoke to the police. She spoke to like other people. There's witnesses. The same neighbor then again emerged from his residence asking what was transpiring. Just as Ashley was attempting to answer, gunshots began being fired in the direction of Ashley. Ashley fled to a car near where the neighbor was also taking cover and lost sight of defendant Doe 1. Ashley then heard an SUV screeching and speeding, leaving the residence. Ashley then entered the home of the neighbor, who informed her that he had already called the police. Ashley informed the neighbor that it was Sean Combs who had SA'd her and shot at them, but the neighbor was unaware who Diddy was. Shortly thereafter, a sheriff from the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department arrived at the neighbor's home. Ashley told the sheriff she had been violently SA'd by defendant Diddy and others, and that she did not have her clothes, phone, purse, car keys. The sheriff then told Ashley and the neighbor that they had received several noise complaints prior to the neighbor's call and instructed Ashley to find a way to get home. The sheriff did not offer to take Ashley home, nor did he call the emergency services, including an ambulance, nor any offer to take Ashley to the hospital, nor any effort to help her recover her clothes from Shane's residence. You can read this last page yourself. I'm going to pause it here, but in summary, she goes back to Shane's house to get her stuff. She ends up sleeping it off. Obviously, she's still drugged up. She's still in shock. She sleeps it off, and then Shane returns and returns her stuff, returns her cell phone, keys, and she left. And at the bottom it says she returned home to try and make sense of what happened to her. As it says here, on March 26th, she contacted her primary doctor and asked for an HIV and STD test in fear of possibly contracting a disease. Ashley tried to continue her life as she felt she wouldn't be believed, as she already told the sheriff's department that Diddy did it, to no avail. She was also under the impression that if she did continue to say that it was Diddy's name, that she would not be believed and that her life would be in danger. Seemingly, mere days, maybe even the day before her essay, Shane had miraculously began driving a new car. Ashley believes that this was payment by Diddy for setting her up. A few weeks later, in April 2018, while she was still in pain and reeling from the horrific essay, she went to the hospital as her injuries had not subsided. More evidence, more proof, more witnesses. The hospital conducted several tests on Ashley, including an essay kit, ultrasound and x-rays. Additionally, she was given IV fluids to stabilize her vitals as she was in a severe weakened state from being unable to eat and losing substantial amount of weight since it happened. While in the hospital, Ashley told members of her treatment team about her experience, and they contacted Walnut Creek Police. Walnut Creek Police showed up to the hospital room and took statements regarding her essay. Ashley had already told the Costa Sheriff's Department about the essay and that it was Diddy who orchestrated it on March 2018, but it was ignored. Ashley declined to refer to Diddy again to the Creek Police because she feared that she would be ignored again. She believes that her statements made to Walnut Creek Police while at hospital was captured on the body cam footage, and she also believes that the statement she made to the Contra Costa Sheriffs was also captured too. She also filed a report to the Orinda Police Department on April 17th, but again was too afraid to name Diddy as one of the assailants. During this report, Ashley provided her clothing to the police from the night of the essay, but they only retained her underwear. To date, the underwear was never returned, and plaintiff believes no investigation ever commenced. I'm going to pause it on this screen here. Feel free to take your time to read, but it basically says how she was struggling extremely badly with her mental health following this, how she was losing weight, she suffered extreme anxiety, she had several hospitalizations, and ultimately it was Cassie and Cassie's lawsuit that gave her the strength to finally tackle this head on. There's a lot more pages of that document. I just wanted to give you kind of like the overall story of what actually happened. Even as you can see here, it says KK Shane and all the John and Jane Does were members of Diddy's SA and cover-up enterprise and facilitated, benefited from, had knowledge of, or should have known of defendant Diddy's sexual proclivities and predatory behavior. This is an actual RICO. This is an organization. This is organized crime. This is truly one of the most harrowing stories I've ever come across, and I believe this is one of many that Diddy's been involved in, plus other celebrities. I don't even know where to start with this. I pray this woman gets justice. She is a survivor. To go through an ordeal where there's gunshots going off, alleged undercover police, Diddy screeching off, his mum's involved, you got witnesses from the hospital, you've got police not following through with the investigation. Diddy is obviously that powerful. You've got Diddy making jokes, making light of the Tupac murder. What the hell? That's what Lil Rodney also said. Lil Rod in his lawsuit also said he made reference to the shooting in the New York nightclub, that Shine went down for that. He was the one that shot the woman in the face, Diddy was. The woman has never strayed from her story. She said back in the 90s, Diddy shot me, or whenever it was, the early noughties, whatever. Diddy shot me in the face. She's never ever changed her story. Everyone's saying the same thing. So if you think this is some sort of conspiracy to get down black people, you are truly deluded. This is not about black and white. This is about corrupt power and how you use that power to get what you want. Diddy is an absolute horror movie monster, and I truly cannot believe this exposes so much. Like, the rabbit hole must be so deep, guys. But anyway, man, let me know your thoughts. Wow. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you lot soon. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay vigilant. Peace.